it's about the vastness of the sea and the depth of the sea. And I wanted to kind of refer that to the title to the context of the painting, which has almost a similar attributes in terms of how deep it is. It starts with fundamentally a black surface, and then I built up on it. Black representing maybe a sense of infinity, vastness. So that's where the C comes from, and that's why it's spelled SEA rather than SEE. Why do you create a body of work? So for me, it's always it necessitates a environment that I can be informed from. So, and whether that information is regional or global, that's a different question. But when something like George Floyd happens, maybe, in this close of proximity from where you live, and it's sort of intersecting at a global moment with a regional and a personal intersection is very interesting. And that automatically sort of began this journey of complete ambiguity, not knowing about anything because you're dealing with a pandemic, you're dealing with George Floyd, you're dealing with social anxieties, social distancing. So it's a challenging times, but times of a lot of questions, a lot of question marks. So, and I wanted to expand my work in abstraction, and this was one of the ways to sort of actually declare that the only way to express these times would be through a body of abstract work, because I was not sure about anything really at this point, where I've seen like America at a really intersection of like this very segregated space, which is one of the things I forgot to mention is that, but this is aftermath of Trump. So there are all kinds of anxieties, especially for people of color. And this is all building up to this climactic moment where a Black man was kneed to death a block away. This was my bodega, this was my neighborhood. And so things kind of automatically, these things happened. And you as an artist always want to think about how do you process these things. And we're lucky to make things, and we're lucky to be creative people who have avenues to regurgitate these things. And for me, this happens to be painting. But how do you paint these times? Can abstract painting capture a sense of history, right? I mean, the only thing that it can actually capture is the not knowing about the times. It's the ambiguity of the times. It's the unknowns. We didn't know what was happening with the pandemic. I had some people die on me during the pandemic, and all kinds of global stuff was happening. So that was really a result of also collecting a lot of collage work from National Geographics over the period of 2 or 3 years, thinking about appropriation of imagery and how a lot of Indigenous and Brown and Black people are portrayed in a really voyeuristic, dark manner, especially with National Geographic, that was the case. So I've been taking them out of their context and trying to place them in a different space, give them some little breathing room as to how they experience their environment and sort of get them out of that gaze, the white gaze and the appropriation. The essence of it is just that I'm happy that I was allowed to do it, that I'm allowed to be a painter. That's such a huge privilege. And and again, I'd always talk about these things about how to be an artist kind of thing. It's like, I'm not trying to be preachy, but it's not just when you make work. We have to not separate the way that we live our lives from what we do in the studio. And so those things come out in different ways in just utilitarian fashion, like when you're making food or when you're doing whatever. And this is something kind of lost on Western culture completely. The idea of being an artist in Western culture is to be a loner, an empty sort of people person. In an idea of being an artist from where I come from, and most of the global South, is that this is a person who has a great deal of relationship with the community. In fact, his main work is around the community, teaching and sharing.